I just wanted to take a quiet walk, deep in the forest, alone with the tranquility of nature, away from the chaos of life. It was therapy for me. As the sun was slightly drawn behind the hills, I started walking under the trees. The sounds of birds gave me melodic harmony. The fresh air filled me with peace. I did not know that my life would change completely that day. When I turned a bend, I saw him, a tall, dark, and impressive figure, with broad shoulders, upright posture, and a confident air spreading around him. He immediately caught my attention. His eyes locked on mine, and for a moment it seemed like time had stopped for me. "I didn't expect to meet anyone here," he said. His voice was deep and soft with a faint teasing tone. "And so did I," I replied with a faint smile on my face. But there were storms brewing inside me. He asked with a confident smile on his lips. I hesitated for a moment, but a strange wave of courage surged inside me. I said, "Of course," trying to hide my inner excitement. We started to walk side by side. Our steps were in harmony. Even the silence between us seemed to have some meaning, an indescribable energy in the air. It was felt, deep in the forest. We reached an opening where the rays of the sun filtered through the trees. In golden tones to the ground emitted a beam of light. Something changed. The air felt heavier. It stopped slowly and turned its face to me. Its eyes locked on mine. There was a dark desire in its eyes. My heart began to beat rapidly. It said, "You are different." Its voice was low and sincere. "There is something that impresses me." With these words, he took his steps towards me. The distance between us was closing rapidly. I said I could tell you the same thing, my voice trembling. Reaching out his hand and saying something on my face. She gently pulled her hair. Her touch was like electricity, a spark from my skin. Her fingers gently stroking my cheek. I felt like my heart was going to come out. She took a step closer as her breath hit my face. I felt lost in the dark depth of her eyes. She whispered, "You are beautiful," and her lips touched mine. The kiss was soft and gentle, but I immediately felt the intense desire that lay beneath her. Her lips were pulling me deeper with every move. Her hands slipped to my waist and pulled me to her. My skin seemed to catch fire. Every touch I felt my body trembling. My hands involuntarily touched her chest. I felt her stiff muscles. His presence both protected and attracted me. His lips came down my neck. His breath was cut off, with each kiss leaving a mark on my skin. He whispered in my ear, his voice filled with desire. The distance between us was completely closed. I touched his chest with my fingers. I noticed his eyes darkened with my touch. This moment of desire accelerated the beating of my heart, leaving the whole world outside of us as my hands shifted upward. The warmth of his skin burned my fingertips. His hands wrapped around my waist and held me tighter. The strength of his body kept me both protected and protected. It felt completely defenseless. When she joined her lips with mine again, the kiss was now more greedy, more passionate. Her hands moved from my waist to my back, slowly exploring every inch of my skin, leaving me breathless, her lips moving down my neck, her touch deepening every moment, carrying me beyond my imagination, her fingers shifting slightly to my hips, my body responding to her rhythm. My breath was cut off. A part of my body was burning with every touch, bent over my chest and moaning as her kisses burned my skin, ran away from my mouth, wandered between her hair as my hands wandered around her neck. This moment, it made her magic more intense. The skillful movements of her hands drew me more and more. She whispered in my ear, "Every second of the night Kagura Hindojiki to be poison made. The second even more memorable. When I was with you, everything became meaningful." These words created a new wave of tremors in my body. I took my hands to the buttons of her shirt, slowly opened it. As she uncovered the nakedness of her chest, the excitement within me increased. Her breath quickened as my fingers slipped down her chest. Her passion for me became more and more apparent. When her arms surrounded me, I felt completely submissive to her. Her warmth made me she was almost enchanted. Her hands slipped gently down my back, and then she grasped my hips. When our eyes met, the electrical connection between us could not be described by words. "To be with you for this moment," she said, her lips touching my skin, her every word echoing inside me, her warm breath creeping down to my neck and shoulder, which encouraged me to get closer. Her fingers sliding gently down my arms, caressing me each time she touched, creating a different wave of excitement within me. As my hands discovered her powerful arms, our lips meeting again, this kiss more than ever before. It was intense. It was the expression of both a desire and an emotional bond. As our bodies moved together, our harmony with each other was truly enchanting. My hands slipped on his back. As I felt the stiffness of his vaults, I felt the confidence that he had surrounded me. "No one had made me feel this way," I whispered. He looked at the emotions in my eyes and smiled lightly. It was as if the rest of the universe had stopped. Every second that we were together made us more connected. The softness I saw in his eyes, not just a physical connection, but a much deeper connection. As we finally gathered our breath and lay in each other's arms, the silence of the forest descended upon us. As the sun faded behind the trees, I realized that this moment was more meaningful than anything else in my life. "I will never forget this moment," he said, his voice still full of passion. So I smiled at his face, as if I were truly living for the first time in my life. "I will never forget this moment," he said, his voice still full of passion. So I smiled at his face, as if I were truly living for the first time in my life. Deep in the forest at sunset, knowing that this moment had changed us, and that we would not be the same anymore. For more similar stories, you can subscribe to our channel and like it. You may also want to check out our other stories. Thank you.